What just happened? You hit my friend! She's under the car! Oh my god, I hit someone? I think I'm gonna be sick. Move your car now! I could see the driver's feet run back into the car, and the next thing I felt was the weight of the car pushing back down onto my body. But this time, even harder. I tried to yell for her not to, but I couldn't breathe. And the car shifted gears into reverse, and my left cheek started to grind onto the floor. It was so unbearable that I couldn't speak. I tried to move, and when I did, I felt my spine slowly crunch. I could smell my skin burn against the hot muffler. I tried to move my face, but I couldn't see anything. Is this where it stops? How my life will end? Underneath a ton of hot metal? And when I opened my eyes again, I saw the same pair of feet hop out of the driver's seat, and green vomit splashing onto the pavement. Are you okay? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me? My friend knelt down next to the car and reached for me, trying to get me out from under the car. As she pulled, I screamed in agony, feeling my skin being peeled off by the hot muffler. She immediately let go of my arm, which was now broken, and as soon as she pulled her hand away, I saw them completely coated in red. I could hear the sirens in the distance coming closer while my friend ran around hysterically yelling for help. She laid down next to the car and said, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Are you in pain?" "I'm okay." I didn't feel any pain. And then I realized I couldn't feel anything at all. I was pinned to the ground when a police officer's face replaced my friend's and looked at me completely shocked. "Can you move your arm? Stay calm. We will get you out of here. What is your parents' contact information?" All I knew was I had just been run over by a car. I could only imagine what shape I was in when he asked for my parents' numbers. When he called, my dad answered at first. He thought they got the wrong number because the police officer said I had been in a car accident. Car accident? I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. I think you have the wrong person. My daughter is way too young to drive. I don't. Your daughter was hit by a car and is currently trapped underneath. We need you to come right away. I heard a truck come closer and voices yelling all around me. I tried to figure out what they were saying, but the words were muffled with voices of strangers. A firefighter knelt down and said, "Everything will be okay. We're going to lift the car up and pull you out. It might hurt a little, but I promise we will get you out." I saw a jack go under the car and a bunch of people surrounding it, making sure it didn't move too much to one side. At the corner of my eye, I could see the driver sitting on the curb with her head between her legs. I wondered if she was okay, and then I heard a hammering sound and a weight lift off my chest, and I screamed. I felt my lungs fill with air, and then a sharp pain shot through my entire body. The paramedics quickly grabbed my armpits on both sides and began pulling me out from underneath the car. I could feel a slight suction on my back from the muffler finally being released from my spine, and then they started to drag my legs across the floor like a lifeless rag doll. All I was able to do was scream from the worst pain I had ever felt in my entire life. I begged them to stop. "Please, stop." Tears ran down my face as they ignored my cries and dragged me to the floor. "Once more and you're on the stretcher. Hang in there." When they finally got me out, they threw me onto a stretcher and started cutting my clothes off. My friend came running over, crying as she stood next to me, telling me how sorry she was for letting this happen. I tried to tell her that it was okay and that it wasn't her fault, but the paramedics pushed her aside and rushed me out as soon as possible. My parents arrived on the scene where my dad saw everyone around me. He broke down in tears, begging for them to help his little girl. Before I could answer, the paramedics cut in and told my parents to get into the ambulance because I was now in critical condition. Right away, the doctors set me up to the ICU. I spent most of my time laying in a hospital bed connected to ventilators with nurses reassuring my parents that I would make it. The problem wasn't surviving, but what was to come after, and I wasn't prepared to hear the doctor's words. "You have some internal damage, but we've managed to keep that under control. Your right lung was collapsed, which is now under control as well, and your femur, it snapped in two with your spine severely fractured. "I'm sorry, but with these injuries, you have a 30% chance of ever walking again." Doctors always prepare you for the pain that'll come during and after surgery, but they always leave out the hardest part of all, the loneliness. My parents and friends would try their best to stop by, but once things became busy and no one came, I'd be pushed into a dark corner of my mind. I'd be left with nothing more than a TV, and with it came anger and thoughts of ending it all. Every day a nurse would have to take me to the bathroom and clean up after me, and that made me feel less of a person. And then I'd stare at my body and see nothing but metal pieces holding me together. I began wondering why the driver couldn't have gone a little faster. Why couldn't she have ended it completely rather than this pathetic suffering? Now all I am is invalid, just another useless person in society with no worth, just a pity stare in the streets and a sad, "What happened?" I wanted no life than this life at all, and the more I felt like giving up, the less I wanted to do anything. That was until one of the nurses told me we were going for a walk. I tried telling her that I wanted to stay in bed, but she insisted and lifted me anyways. When I asked where we were going, she ignored and never told me. She only said what I needed to know. She pushed me from floor to floor while occasionally telling me what each area represented. First was the ER, where I saw a crying boy with a broken arm and his mother comforting him, easing his pain. Then I passed labor and delivery, where I heard the gasp and cries of a new life being born. And then I passed the ICU, where I saw family members huddled around the final ripples of life. It was the combination of these moments where I understood how fragile and unexpected life truly is. We can sit and dwell on what could have and what should have, but in the end, the only control we really have is acceptance. There was no point in wishing I had died rather than be where I was, and wishing the same on the driver. So I did what I knew I should, and that was accept. Accept that it was okay for others to help me. And support doesn't mean I'm useless or weak. It just means I'm human. Accept that now I have a 30% chance at walking because of a careless driver. But as long as I keep moving forward, I am one step closer to appreciating time had than time lost. I slowly began physical therapy, which was one of the most unknown things anyone will have to go through, because you'll never know if all your hard work will get you back to normal. It took weeks, but the day came when I was finally able to do what so many of us take for granted every day. I stood up on my own weight and took my first steps. My doctor was in disbelief as he asked me to slowly walk. I can't explain to you the feelings I had when I was able to do that. All I can say is that I cried, and every step I took was stronger and more confident than the ones before. I had gone against their 30% and proved that human will and belief to fight were far greater. I wasn't 100%, and that was something that was going to take time, and I would need to accept, but that day, it didn't matter as long as I kept moving forward. My parents were overjoyed, but that was quickly taken away when they started speaking about suing the driver. He began contacting lawyers, nearly all of whom would take this case. But I didn't want that. I didn't want to ruin another person's life because of a mistake they made. So I grabbed my dad's hand and told him that I wasn't mad at the lady who hit me, that I forgave her, and he should too. He didn't know how to respond, and I could see the anger boiling in him. I knew he probably thought I was being naive, but instead of saying anything, he just nodded. I think in that moment, all he needed to know was that I was okay. That despite everything we had gone through, I still had the strength to give when he needed it the most. I learned that accepting life as it comes is the best thing anyone can do. That holding hatred or grudges against those who knowingly or unknowingly do things to us only stops ourselves from appreciating our own life. I'm lucky enough to say that I was able to walk down my school hallway and be me again. I know not everyone can say this, but I don't expect anyone to understand it. But what I hope you will take away from my story is that sometimes the power of strength is in forgiveness.
Hi, I'm the submitter of this video. Thank you so much for watching a piece of my life. It sounds a bit surreal, doesn't it? So the one thing I learned the most during this time was never to take anything for granted. I almost thought I was gonna become paralyzed. Being under the car, I was convincing myself that even if I couldn't move, I'd be okay. After having both surgeries and told I was able to walk again, I wanted to cry for joy. Never in my life would I have thought I'd be happy to do anything physical. Thankfully I was young because now I'm able to do the same things as before. The scars remind me of what could have happened to me and how thankful I am that I'm still here today.